Recording. We think. We hope we're recording.
Well, you know what I find is that if you do record it, it's easier to show it to people later.
Yeah. What is that?
It is what it is. So,
Ah.
can you read that?
Yes, it is what it is. Well, let's see.
There you go. I hear that's a pretty cool brand.
It is a very cool brand. Yep. And yeah, Eric just came out with an app.
Yeah.
So he's pumping that, and it should be pretty good, actually.
Yeah. I skipped the app, went right in for the main course.
Good. The full-on PC version, huh? Welcome to Between the Fur with Christopher Bruce.
Yeah, man.
Bruce, how you doing, man?
Dude, living the dream, right?
Yeah.
All about.
Yeah. Welcome to the podcast, to the Between the Fur Studios.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make sure the caveat there, nightmares are dreams too. So just keep that in mind at home.
That's deep.
Living the dream.
Real deep. You know, I'm glad we have you on here because I know we are going to go super deep today.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the shallow? How deep is the shallow end? Because that sounds good.
Yeah, no shallow end here today. Last time we did this, it didn't record, and so we're just shooting from the hip here again. And I'm glad to have you on here because it has been forever that I've known you, and it also has been forever since we chatted about life, except for the time that we recorded this and it didn't record. So,
well, but again, it is what it is.
It is what it is. I like that cup. Chris, how did you tell us how you started, man? How did you get into this? You were Obby.
Just like a lot of us, we made a bunch of mistakes and then we found our way to the mascot business, right? Isn't that how that works?
Yep, kind of fell into it, so to speak. And
yeah, so I mean, to get into it real quick, I mean, I started in college. I hadn't done any mascot performance or any work along those lines until after I left high school and got to the University of Delaware. I went off to become a doctor. That was the dream, right? That was the direction I had kind of set forth, and my mom and family were super proud. Oh, my son's going to be a doctor. This is going to be great. And then I became the mascot.
Yeah, that's not a left turn. That's a U-turn.
It was just a no turn. I think I just stopped moving and I just got stuck at that point in my life, and that was it. No, my mom actually joked that she loved it. She's like, I sent my son off to school to become a doctor, and he came home a stuffed animal. That was her proud line she'd use with all her friends. So, tongue in cheek, of course, but it was a beautiful journey, man. It was University of Delaware. Got there first couple weeks of college, looking for something to do, walking around campus, and I don't know if you did this, but back then we'd travel in packs, right?
We'd
call wolf packs, right? We'd be howling around campus, checking things out, getting the lay of the land.
Yeah,
and
no problem.
We're at the Scrounge, which is we're in the Perkins Student Center, and I walk in and there's this bird, this giant blue and gold chicken, just tearing the place up, throwing cookies around the place like Frisbees. Zero care with anything going on, just trying to make an impact. And I'm like, what is happening? This is crazy. And sure enough, they had flyers for tryouts. And I was just like, you know what? That is so ridiculous. I'm interested. And I just talked to one of my buddies who, my buddy that I just met in the dorms who I'd kind of connected with. And I was like, dude, what do you think? He's like, you should do this.
That's you. Has you written all over?
You're just the right amount of idiot for that. And I was like, I think I am. I can do this. And
did you ever see any mascots? Did you? What was your experience with mascots prior to that? Had you seen any?
I don't. The only thing that and it's funny, when I went to my little interview, I was like, well, I'm from Syracuse, and I really like Otto the Orange. That was literally like the only mascot context I had in my universe of any type, really. And as a Syracuse basketball and football fan growing up as a kid, Otto the Orange, that was it. But I had never thought about being in a costume, entertaining, performing at all. zero. Outside of like Halloween, that was it. So that was my first real introduction to it, was in college. And
I think a lot of mascots, well, at least when I started, it was
Yeah.
like, hey, let's wing it. The only
Yeah.
the only thing I had to go off of is what I saw the San Diego Chicken do at 2 games.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, that's my job. I want that job. That's got to be me. I got to do that. And then anything I built off of was based on what I had seen him in 2 games. So
I mean, listen, Ted would be very proud of himself to hear that, for sure. He basically spawned your whole career, and from those 2 games, you've built every single great moment. And
yes,
you should just send him a very thoughtful letter, and he'll never read it. But
so exactly.
you should do that.
Hey, quick story. Quick story. You know what? I might just do that. But quick story though. After I had gotten this job, after a couple of years, it had to be a couple seasons. We got a new president that came in, and right off the bat, he hired the chicken to come in.
Yeah.
To do 2 games back to back.
Yeah.
And I had already somewhat established myself. I mean, I had really come in with, a big splash. But then to have him hire the chicken, my confidence all of a sudden just plummeted. He brought that guy in, and I was excited at first. Hey, I'm going to meet him. I'm going to meet the guy, my hero. And he was such a jerk to me. I was deflated, immediately when I first walked in the room.
What was that like? Let me flip this around and be the host for a second. So Ken, when you were in that moment, meeting what in a lot of ways probably at the time was your idol.
Yes, Superman to me.
Clearly, as we've already talked about on this podcast, the single spark that led to all great things that have happened in your entire career, then and since. What was that interaction like?
So I walk in the room, and there is Ted. The man, the legend.
Yeah. The light glowing around him. You can hear the music, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I walk in immediately. I'm humbled. I'm humbled. I want to bow. That's the chicken. Yes.
Looking for the ring. You're like, what do I kiss? I don't know.
Yes, exactly. A little awkward moment there for me. And the game director at the time, Paul Andrews, good friend of mine, he says, "Hey, this is Ken. He plays our mascot." And he goes, immediately, Ted turns to me and he goes, "Oh, you're the guy. So you're the guy that's stealing all my stuff." I'm like, wait, what? And he's just like, I could see veins starting to burst, in his neck and forehead and stuff. And he was just fuming. He was about to explode on me.
Imitation's the best form of flattery.
Right. I'm like, but I tried to do it just, anyways, no. And I'm trying to think everything, flashing through my mind. What have I done? What have I, what is it that I've really, offended him on? Anyways, so come to find out, Paul, he says, whoa, wait, what has he stolen from you? And he's like, well, for example, he goes, the Minnie the Moocher thing. He goes, I love Paul for this. He goes, Minnie the Moocher. He goes, we've been doing that for like 5-10 years now, way before he was here. And he's like, well, anyways. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So thank you, Paul, for,
Yeah, it was nice, man. You had your back.
having my back there. Yeah.
It's important.
So during these games, real quick, I'll tell you this. During, I think it was the first game. Yeah, it was the first game. And Chicken had just done his stuff. Well, get this. He goes back in the back or whatever, and I come out and I'm doing my thing, and I am floor level, okay? And here I've got in the upper deck, I'm hearing my character name, which I don't say on here, my character name, and they're chanting my name up there. And all of a sudden it fills the whole arena. And I'm just at that point, I'm walking past the new president of the company,
Yeah.
And he reaches back. He was sitting courtside. He reaches back and he grabs me, pulls me down, and he goes, "Did you do this? Did you start this?" And I'm like, how would I do that? I'm like, no. And so he let me go, and he just sits there kind of, with his arms crossed, frustrated, because they're all chanting my name and not the chickens. Anyways, after that game, the chicken had another game to do the next night.
Yeah.
Anyways, after that game, my boss walked in, the boss, president of the company. He goes, "Hey, man," he goes, I just want to apologize, man." He goes, "This was a huge mistake." He goes, "My bad." He goes, "I will never have him back."
There it is. You know how many people, unfortunately, I've heard say that? Like he burned more bridges, I think, than he's even crossed.
Well, but right. And I, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I was so happy, and he could see this. The president of the company was, he could see this, that our fans had endeared themselves to my character, and they were in full support. And as far as they were concerned, this guy was an intruder.
Yeah. Why is he even here? What's this about?
Yeah.
Chicken? Come on.
Yeah. Anyways, hey, we got off track. Let's talk about you.
Yeah, no worries, man. So, I mean, where do you want to start? I mean, it's been a journey over the last 20 plus years, rocking and rolling, doing this thing.
Professional characters that you've been.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
First of all, let's go into this, because, you have developed characters as well for the company, Dave Raymond's company.
Yeah, working with Raymond Entertainment.
Raymond Entertainment.
Dave Raymond. He and I worked together for years, helping cultivate and really bring characters to life for universities, organizations, you name it. And it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun training. It was a lot of fun developing those stories and working with those clients to kind of bring those programs and characters to life. It's I mean, as we all do as performers, that's kind of the challenge, right? You want to take this from being a costume character to just a living, breathing entity. Like, it's not a person in a costume. So
exactly.
much more.
When people ask me, hey, what would you suggest right off the bat? Hey, I'm getting into this. What's something that you would, just what's a general rule I should live by, or have any tips or whatever? I'll tell them every time, remember, you've got to get to the point where people look at you like, this is a character. This is a real thing, not a guy in a costume.
No, absolutely.
Once you think along those lines, it'll start to develop, and that character will come to life.
And I've done a lot of training along with Dave, and just in working with, performers that are coming up through the University of Delaware program or whoever. And one of the things I developed, and I tried to simplify it, because I think a lot of times people try to overcomplicate it. And, you'd go to UCA mascot camp or this other thing, and they're like popping the bubble and all this stuff. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's really about having fun. And if you can truly get lost in those moments while you're in costume, I think that's one of the easiest starting points to focus on that. Go out there, have fun. And then we built on it. And, the University of Delaware kind of still uses these rules. And I say to a lot of the performers I work with, but there was 2 rules: have fun and don't suck. That was it. So just get out there, have fun, and don't suck.
You know what? As I should have talked to you as I was raising my kids, because I would
there
always say, "Hey, most important thing, have fun." I should have added in that other one.
You missed one, and I
missed one. Yeah,
could have gotten you in trouble, but you left a lot up for interpretation. Is all I'm saying.
True. Oh man, I missed the boat on that one.
Yeah,
well, never too late.
We're in a landlocked state, as it's not as many boats as some, so you're fine.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, good. That gives me hope. All right. So you have developed a ton of characters now. As far as professional characters,
to kind of start back a little bit, one of the first real professional character, and I would consider the USBL league as a semi-pro, but still a pro character, was Thunder for the Lehigh Valley Dogs, which is a league and a team that no longer exists. But this was way back in, I guess, late 90s, early 2000 range. Did it for about 3 seasons.
Wait,
and
so
Thunder Dawkins was the coach, man. It was crazy.
Oh, Chocolate Thunder, man. I love
The
that guy. I have a
original.
signed basketball by him.
You seriously, dude. Rest in peace, man. That guy was a cool guy, a lot of fun, a big,
He
larger
was
than life
awesome.
personality. He was the original backboard breaker in the NBA. I mean, he was a beast.
He was such a huge guy.
Yeah, he was just a monster. But he was such a he was like a giant teddy bear though. I mean, his
Gentle
persona and
giant.
the way he treated me as 19 to probably 21-year-old kid was nothing but kind, respectful, and I was part of the team. Like he pretty much embraced me and adopted me in, and it was a cool environment back then because we didn't have a lot of rules. They were all figuring it out, and they were just like they wanted to entertain fans. And I started the character, did it for the first 3 seasons of the team, and I really cut my teeth. I mean, that was for me the best thing I could have done at the time because I didn't have anybody watching over me. I didn't really have anybody directing. They trusted me. They liked what I was doing, and they basically were like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And that was awesome. And I learned a lot in those years as I was also still doing the mascot for the University of Delaware and a couple other things. But that freedom to create and to just get in the crowd and really work and take over the environment in the arena was probably the best thing that could have happened at the time to kind of give me the confidence.
That's a great environment to develop in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many restrictions nowadays, especially with being politically correct and
Yeah.
those things that companies worry about, teams worry about,
Yeah.
image. I mean, and anything can go viral. I mean, in a matter of seconds. It's
Yeah. And which is a blessing and a curse, right? It's
yeah.
great you have access to be able to showcase. And if you do have something that's comic gold or something that's just hilarious for different reasons, maybe there's a blooper or something that just something went horribly wrong, but that's great too. It can blow up.
Right.
That never we didn't have that when I mean, there was nobody sharing this stuff and nobody even seeing it outside of the arena because you sure as heck weren't getting that recorded on your flip phone. And
No.
if you had a really talented and very efficient sketch artist, they're probably not going to capture those moments and get them out. So it was all up here and it was all right in here.
That's
And
right.
it just,
And we were at home with the VCR,
oh my
you know,
goodness.
ready to
Yeah.
record when ESPN came on, or
Hoping. Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
How
you know,
many wasted tapes did you go through?
oh my gosh, I have cardboard boxes full
Yeah.
of VHS tapes that I have to go through. In fact, speaking of how it was kind of the Wild West back then and anything goes,
Yeah.
I was watching some vintage stuff last night, and I saw I pulled up a video of a friend of mine that I had at the game. Actually, he became a friend of mine after this,
Yeah.
but I pulled him out of the crowd and had to be 400 pounds plus. I mean, the guy was,
Hey, well, hold on. So you pulled him out of the crowd, 400 pounds.
that's back
Can
when I
you,
was
you gotta
jacked.
prove it.
So, the
Well,
only
I
shot
pulled
I
up
have,
my dolly.
the only shot I have of this guy though, is he and I
Yeah.
standing on the score table. This guy was a mountain of a man, and he lost his
Wow.
balance, and luckily fell
Oh.
fell towards the court.
So they cracked the floor. They had to. How long does it take to
Save the
repair
fans. He landed on his feet, luckily, and I'm like, how did this guy
that?
not
That must have
buckle?
been an athlete.
He was huge, a
Yeah,
huge man. But heck,
that's impressive.
I can't even get on the score table anymore. Not allowed.
Yeah,
No.
that's
But
unreal.
anyways, so back to Chocolate Thunder. You started
Yeah,
with the
so I was
dogs,
there with the dogs. Larry
and
Holmes was the owner, so he wasn't pulling any punches. So if it wasn't
no.
good or wasn't funny, he told you. But it
Oh,
was such
that's
a cool
great.
dynamic, man. It was a lot of fun. And then the Philadelphia Eagles started really working with them because the guy that was a senior at Delaware when I was a freshman, Ryan Hughes, went on to become the full-time mascot performer there. And I was his backup for his entire time he was there, helping him out. That was 12 seasons. And did a ton of every game, worked the Super Bowl, worked all the stuff that you can imagine NFL wise. It was a lot of fun. That was the Andy Reid's era and Donovan McNabb and all that when they went to 4 straight NFC Championship games and so close back then, so close. This couldn't get it, couldn't quite get it done. But an awesome thing to be a part of. Um, and then Reggie, man. Reggie was the one that really got me professionally going and consistently out there performing, touring the country, all over North America, Canada, Mexico, you name it, doing basically what Ted and the famous chicken was doing, traveling, right? So I dealt with you all the time coming into
Mhm.
towns.
Yep.
And unlike Ted, I would be a little bit more collaborative and would love to try to get the home mascot involved, because part to your point is I wasn't there, and I would make a, because I think a lot of performers' instincts are to be somewhat competitive and
Mhm.
combative, and I always wanted it to be a party. And if I'm in, I'm not here to take over. I come and I leave. You're going to be here tomorrow. You're going to be the day after that. So while we're here, let's just have fun. And I would bring them in. I would involve them in ways that made sense, and would just add to the atmosphere as opposed to taking away. And it was hard to, not a lot of performers could do that. I mean, there's a lot of egos and pride involved, and so some would get jealous because we were a big deal when we came into town. They were promoting it. They're giving it all this energy and this effort and time and focus. And we had 5 inning breaks if it's a baseball game, which they never got that much time. And it was a balance. It was always interesting to see that dynamic. And I
It's
would just try to use it as a way to build them up and to encourage them versus the other way around.
Well, and that's what I had hoped with the chicken, is
Yeah,
that he would say, "Hey, you know what? I got this bit. I want to include you in. You're going to take the fall a little bit, or you're going to be the hero, and I'm going to take the fall, or
yeah,
something. But we'll work together on this, and we'll make it really cool and everything." And that just didn't happen. But
yeah.
yeah, so I swore at that point I would never be that guy,
Well, that's good.
and
That's
yeah,
good.
but I don't know if I succeeded or not, but
Well,
yeah. Yeah. So
I think you
so
did all right.
Reggie, one time actually Reggie, back in what, 2008 or 7,
Somewhere in
something
there,
like that.
probably 6, 7 range. I would think it was before 8, because that was when the economy did really well.
Right, right, right.
Prior to
Took
that, I
a
think.
took a turn for the
Yeah.
yeah. So anyways,
Yeah.
but yeah, you came out to visit me and present me with the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame
And
trophy and all that in
remember
front
the
of my crowd.
dude, that was a lot of fun, but do you remember the thing that happened? The little hiccup that we had?
Uh-uh.
Do you remember?
Uh-uh.
Remember I forgot the legs?
Oh,
We totally didn't pack Reggie's legs, so I ended up going out and getting like spandex and just saying, "You know what? What are we gonna do? We're out. I guess we gotta make this work." So yeah, that was pretty
that's
funny.
funny. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
but
I
we shot
forgot
the
about
little
that. That's
video in the
right.
locker room. We did that whole bit, and we were actually that's so much fun because I developed. I was like, how are we gonna get Reggie to these arenas, to these places? Add a little something to it. Remember, we teleported.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. That's right.
so I did this whole bit where, and I actually worked that into my touring show, and I kind of used it for the Mascot Hall of Fame inductions, because we did this in Cleveland as well with Slider, which was a funny one. I'll tell you in a second. But I Reggie basically was like, "Well, I don't know how to get there, but I do have this pamphlet on teleportation." so sort of, all right. So then I just would do
In
this
the
ridiculous
mascot world,
thing.
anything is possible.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing I always loved about Reggie, is like I kind of made it where the character had a just enough of a naivete to it. If there was ever an option for a pun or a way to turn a word around or twist it, Reggie would always take the other. Like it was a lot of fun to be able to play that. But yeah, it's like, oh man, how am I gonna get there? And he's like, oh well, I do have this pamphlet on teleportation. And it's just like, duh, this will work. And then you
Yeah,
just do it, and then bing, next thing
right,
you know, you're shooting across the country and through the particle waves, and
right.
bam, there you are. And the people bought into it. They loved it. It's fun.
And yeah, anything's possible with
Yeah.
in the mascot world. Let me back up a little bit and tell everybody that Reggie, this character that you developed, right?
Well, I was a group effort. So
Okay.
Raymond Entertainment Group, REG, Reggie. That's where the character came from, right?
Ah,
And that was when we started Raymond Entertainment Group. Dave was formerly with Acme Mascots, along with his partners Bonnie and Wade at the time, who he had some fun in litigation with in transition over there. And
ah,
the Phillies currently are having fun with. And that's the same group with that whole lawsuit in the rights to the Fanatic. But yeah, we started Raymond Entertainment Group. I was still in college at the time. Kathy Wilson was the designer, and she sketched it up. We all worked together on the character, and Dave had positioned me to be the performer to really take over. He was retiring essentially from performing, and this will be 21. This will be Reggie's 21st summer coming up, and here we are. Yeah,
Wow.
pretty crazy.
Okay, so and this character also talks.
Yes. So that voice I was playing with is essentially Reggie's voice, right? So,
Yes.
oh, hey, everybody.
Right. And
That's
how
the
does
voice, and crazy.
yeah, and how is that well, first of all,
Yeah.
when you were here and you were presenting with the Hall of Fame award and induction and all that stuff,
Yeah.
you were talking, you were on the
Right.
mic,
Yes.
and it was
Literally just like I was an MC, but in a full Muppet type character.
right, which to me was a little foreign.
We get that all the time. So I would go anywhere, and people there almost every performance I did on the road, somebody would be like, "Mascots can't talk," and you should just be like, "Why not?" And then they'd be like, "Well, they didn't really have an answer," so it was always great. So, or I'd just be
Shut
like,
them down.
and I'd just be like, "Oh, I learned how. It's fun." And then they, all right, well, I guess we're past that now. And we just keep going. And so you just give them these quick little retorts, and it would spit a little perspective at them, and then they'd get over it. And then they were like, okay, well, this is different, fun, cool. And you just carried it on from there. And the voice, and a lot of people, oh man, I wish I could talk. And to a point, it's awesome. I mean, it's allowed me probably to stay out of trouble a lot of times. And, like maybe when you didn't have a voice, you kind of couldn't get out of a situation. If a kid's doing a little something too much, or he's a little rough or a little aggressive, you can say something and wake him up a little bit in a way that's not, you don't have to get physical. Or if an adult or somebody's looking at you, you can see it out of the corner of their eye that they're thinking about doing something stupid. You can say something before they do it, and then they go, oh, and that, like, so it's kind of been an awesome device for that reason. But more importantly, it's just another entertaining way to connect, right?
Right.
So physically we're performing, we're using all that, and we're still doing that. But now you add that extra level of spontaneity with the voice and the quick comebacks and the funny one-liners and just reactionary and observational humor, and you bring that all together, and it really has added, I think, a nice dynamic, and been something I've really enjoyed over the years.
That's great. I always thought, if I spoke at some point, I'd get myself in some serious trouble or, whatever. But, I think it takes a real talent to do that, have the sense of humor to pull that off. And I just don't think I have that. In fact, I tell people all the time, and all the listeners, I'm sure will agree, that there's a reason why I have been paid for years now, 30 years plus, to not speak. It just doesn't come natural to
me. Here
me.
you are proving that you have a voice, and your mouth actually works.
I do have vocal cords. My problem is I can't think fast enough and get it out of my mouth fast enough to make sense or to not stumble.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think practice is
working
a
on
big
it.
part of it. Yeah, you'll be all right. I think you're doing well. You're doing well. You should be proud of yourself. But it's a different dynamic. It's a different, skill set. And I would say that to a lot of people, oh man, I wish I had a voice. I said, well, it's just not that easy to do it well. Right.
Oh yeah. No. I just know I couldn't.
What's up? I'm Reggie. How are you? Like it could be pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of energy. It's a lot more energy than you think too. When you're in the character and you're doing all the physical stuff, but you're also talking and engaging. It's a whole different thing that you're bringing into the performance, and
it's got to be exhausting.
Yeah, it takes practice for sure.
So you also were the Wizards mascot for a little while.
I was, yeah. Gee whiz.
Gee whiz
is
and that is a non-speaking character.
Yes. So that's the thing too, is that people think, oh man, you talk so it's easy. It's like, oh, listen, I've done both. I've done all of it. Like, it doesn't matter to me if I can talk. And and it wasn't hard to stop talking. I think a lot of people would assume that I would struggle with that because I was talking for so long. But it's still the same thought process, and the same bits are still going through your head. You're just doing it, engaging differently.
I've
Um,
actually had people say, "Oh man, I couldn't do your job. I just couldn't do it because I just couldn't keep silent." I'm like,
it's so ridiculous, in my
"Gosh, for
opinion.
me, that's where I thrive."
Yeah. I think and this is part of it too, and this goes back to what we were talking about, is like being in the moment. If you genuinely get yourself lost in these moments and you're just purely having fun and engaging, there's so much that is beyond talking that you don't feel like like you feel like you're having a full-blown conversation even though you're not speaking.
Right.
And I know that you feel that way because you do this very well. I watch it. You can see the nuances and the subtleties, and you just speak differently. You speak with your body, your hands, your posture, your emotions through coming through that costume. And that's where, and obviously you've got a great amount of experience and you've developed that. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, you've gotten better at it as you've gotten, you know, older and more experienced, right? It just happens that way.
No, I was always at the top of my game.
Perfect. Well, yeah,
No, actually, watching some of this
apparently,
stuff last
according to that story with the chicken, though, you're right.
no, but literally last night, I had to cover my face at a couple of spots where I'm just like, oh gosh, I look so bush league. I look so bad. And this is on a professional
We've all
court. And I'm
been
like,
there. I hate
oh,
watching old clips. I hate watching clips because all you do is you analyze it and you're like, why did I do that? You should have done this or you should have done that. Or, oh, man,
yeah.
that's
And
all
I'm like,
right.
why am I so big with my hands? Yeah,
Pop the bubble.
exactly.
Come
So,
on. The chicken, though, one real quick. Before we get lost on that, I have a great chicken story.
oh,
Um,
yeah.
so Midwest
Please
League
share.
All-Star game, we're performing up there in Lansing, Michigan with the Lansing Lugnuts, right? Reggie's one of the all-star game
Names.
entertainment features, but it's not just us, right? So they brought in three of the top minor league baseball touring acts that were going around the country at the time. So it was
No, they
myself,
didn't.
Reggie, and we also had like our 9-foot inflatable air monkey and other aspects to the show. And then Myron Noodleman, which is a great act. Unfortunately, that performer has passed. He was an awesome guy. Just unfortunately lost the battle. And then the chicken, right? So we had the chicken, Myron Noodleman, and Reggie, who all carry their own shows night after night, are very used to taking over an environment without anybody else. And this would happen for All-Star games sometimes. We would bring in a few different acts. But we're all set up. Of course, there's the locker room situation where the chicken definitely does not share locker room space. So that's a funny
Mm-mm.
thing and interesting. It's like, whatever, man. It's a huge locker room. There's like 4 of us. Like, get over it. But we all had to kind of work our show, and we'd have, okay, you get this half inning break, you get this break. And throughout the night, we would all kind of cycle through, and, overall they'd have a great night. Well, it worked out where sometimes we'd be in the crowd and then one of the other acts would be on the field doing a bit. And it just so happened that the chicken was out on first base side doing a routine that he used to do during the inning and kind of messing around coaching first base. Well, I was working the crowd on the third base side, get down towards the dugout top, and I'm having a good time. And I'm starting to watch the batter because there's a lefty up. So if there's a left-handed batter, you get those ricochet quick foul balls.
Mm-hmm.
Well, glancing, chicken's doing his thing. He's getting some laughs. That's all good. I'm not trying to pull focus, really. I'm just sort of in the environment, almost just being a fan and enjoying it as well as the character. And, and then I kind of catch a moment with a fan, a little group of fans in the front of the dugout, and they turn my attention, they turn my focus. The next thing I hear is a crack of a bat, like bam. And it felt like it was almost instant. But the second I heard that crack of the bat, not a second later, bam, pop up, like hit me right in the ass. The ball came off the bat, hit me square in the ass, and it was in a spot in the costume where there was no padding, just fur. That literally the ball left stitch marks. I had stitch mark bruises. It was classic.
Oh,
But the thing that was awesome about it, and we talk about being in the moment, being spontaneous, some of the best moments come from that, right?
mm-hmm.
I pop up, and then I just slowly fall. And then I like pick myself up and I'm like, kind of do the thing where you're all dazed and you're in the moment. And then once I collect myself for a second, I turn my attention to the batter, and then I just have a freaking tantrum and like go nuts and just flipping out at him. And the place is going crazy because it was
Nuts, I'm
just
sure.
one of those moments you can't plan for. You can't
Magic moments.
magic moment. And sure enough, I'm in the moment. I lose my stuff. I go and the crowd's freaking nuts. And then I look over and there's the chicken standing on the first base side, just like pissed.
Just hating you.
Tell.
Just trying to burst
Yeah.
you into flames with
Like
his eyes.
fire coming out of the feathers. Just
Yes.
I'm like, sorry, bro.
Yeah.
But easily the best moment from that particular game and talked about for years. I would run into players, random towns throughout the country and be like, oh my God, that moment during the Midwest League All-Star game in Lansing was unbelievable. And it's just, Matt, like you said, magic moments. But the chicken. Yeah.
Oh, he just hated you forever after that. Hated you.
Well,
Yeah. He was probably out trying to trying to figure out what car you were in to slash your tires.
That's why I was glad we were in a rental. It was much harder to figure out.
Yes. Well, and I'm thinking, gosh, it was a really lucky thing for you that you weren't facing the other way. So.
Oh yeah, for real though. Well, I'd like to think that if I was facing the other way, it would have missed me, or I would have been able to move. Because to do this well, I think we're all a little athletic, right? Come on,
Gotta be agile.
Consider yourself to be an athlete.
Yeah, I still have had my share of broken bones and moments that I wasn't so athletic.
Yeah, and I will say though, because I took that, because that ball came screaming, that would have smoked somebody in the crowd. So I definitely took one for the team that day because it was a laser.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, that could have just really hurt somebody. Well,